It seems obvious. The Bitcoin bottom is likely in, and Bitcoin is showing strong signs of recovery. But what about the altcoins? Many of the charts look horrendous. Should we be selling our altcoins and moving our money across to Bitcoin for the next rally? Or is there something else happening behind the scenes? Well, this PMI versus altcoin chart holds the secret. You see, when PMI goes up and down, altcoins follow. So we need to understand what PMI is and whether or not it's going to be going up in the next few weeks ahead and whether there's any catalyst to support that. And in this video, I'm going to explain all of those things so that you know whether or not it's a good time to be holding altcoins for the next potential moves. Do me a favor, hit the like button, let's break this down. Now guys, before we dive in and take a look at that PMI versus altcoin chart, which really does hold the clues as to what we're likely to see over the next few weeks ahead for altcoins rather than just Bitcoin, just a quick disclaimer. Nothing I say in this video is financial advice. Everything I say is for entertainment purposes only. If you wish to invest in crypto, you should understand that it's risky. You can lose money. So don't risk money that you can't afford to lose, and always do your own research before investing in anything. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's crack on with it. Now guys, before we dive in, I just want to take a quote from James Easton over on Twitter. Go and check him out. Shares lots of alpha over there. We are not here to make a quick buck, but we are here to catch the greatest trade ever given to us. Now, I believe that this is really right now one of the best opportunities, the greatest trades ever. However, the market doesn't make us feel like that. The prices are down. Apparently, the 4-year cycle's over. Things are not looking great because Bitcoin's only at 91K, when just a few weeks ago, it was up at 126. But there's one thing we need to do if we want to catch this greatest trade of all time, and it is not linking the way that we feel about crypto to the performance on a price chart, but more building conviction in really understanding what is driving crypto behind the scenes. Because crypto is driven by something else, not the chart. It is driven simply by macroeconomics, what's happening in the global economy. And while it might be a little bit boring, by understanding this, by looking back through tons of past data, you will start to build conviction in what is likely to happen next. Whether Bitcoin goes up or down tomorrow shouldn't really matter to you. It should be fixed around the real drivers behind the scenes, because this is what the smart money, this is what the big money that controls the markets are looking at. They're not necessarily that concerned about the way the price is looking today. They're focusing on the bigger picture, and so should you. Now, if we look at the Bitcoin chart, you can see that we have, over the past few years, seen many periods of time very much like this, where we have a bit of sideways, a bit of down, we have everyone screaming that the bull market's over, only to see Bitcoin then rally strongly. We can see the same happening here, Bitcoin rally strongly. We see the same happening here, Bitcoin rally strongly. See the same happening here, and potentially soon we will see Bitcoin rallying strongly. And it's fairly easy to identify that Bitcoin will start to rally strongly from here because it's very closely linked to liquidity. And don't worry, we'll come to the altcoins very soon in that PMI chart that I know you want to check out. So we do know that Bitcoin is likely going to move strongly, and who else knows this? All the whales, okay? All the whales, they're holding over $900 million worth of Bitcoin, have been buying in massive quantities. These guys typically tend to buy the biggest fear, worrying events, while the majority of retail investors, i.e. us, tend to be panic selling. We want to be able to do the opposite and start to look at the bigger picture, not reacting to the emotional stress of what's happening on the chart. So these guys are buying in massive quantities, and they typically do this every single time there is about to be a significant shove higher. So what drives Bitcoin? Well, if you've been subscribed to my channel over the past few weeks, chances are you've already seen this. Liquidity, right? When liquidity is going up, we see crypto going up. When liquidity is going down, crypto goes down. Things that are linked to liquidity. Interest rates. When interest rates are high, liquidity is low. When we see quantitative tightening, liquidity is low. We have been through a cycle of quantitative tightening and high interest rates over the past 4 years. This bull market should never have happened yet. We should be at the start of the bull market right now, according to the macro model. But Bitcoin has been going up because of this. You see on the top, you've got the reverse repo market, which is the savings account from the Fed. And on the bottom, you've got Bitcoin. Now, if you don't believe that macroeconomics drives crypto, you probably shouldn't be here, okay? But here is the proof of that. The liquidity flow here tops around April the 12th, 2021. You can see right here, okay? The repo market goes from 0 and starts going up around this time. This is all the money printing and everything that entered into the economy from COVID. COVID-19 caused massive global stress on economies. US had to bail out its economy so that everybody didn't go hungry. They started to print tons of money, and this money started to get siphoned off by the banks into their savings account. Into the repo market it went until the 23rd of December 2022. Very important you look at these dates, because on the 12th of April, Bitcoin had that first peak. And then you can see liquidity started to drain out of Bitcoin from there. Yes, we had that second peak, okay? But ultimately, liquidity drained out the system. Bitcoin ultimately had a bit of a slide until around the 23rd of December, which is when the repo market topped. You can see that then Bitcoin goes up. So the repo market drains and it causes Bitcoin to go up until the 6th of October 2025. Repo market is empty, okay? Bitcoin then falls because the repo market's empty. The money that's been driving Bitcoin has run out. So does that mean that our bull market is over? Does that mean that we can't do anything anymore, that crypto's done? Well, this gave Bitcoin a strong rally, and altcoins really should never have seen a rally in this time because it's just the leftover money from the repo market entering into crypto. So what happens now? The repo market's empty. Well, what does the Fed do? They've run out of money because there's no other money coming into the system. So what do they have to do? They'd have to stop quantitative tightening, which remember crypto hates, and they had to start looking towards quantitative easing. They haven't done it yet, but there's a very good chance they do this in the next few weeks because the repo market is empty. Interest rates also will come down because the market is under stress because there is no liquidity in the system. You start to add liquidity to the system, it's going to send Bitcoin continually higher. Bitcoin will continue higher as the Fed has to make decisions to print more money, to engage in rate cuts and all those things, okay? That's what drives Bitcoin. That's also exactly what drove the previous 4-year cycle. The 4-year cycle has been linked previously to liquidity going up and down. So if you believe in the 4-year cycle, tell me what drives the 4-year cycle, okay? It's liquidity. It just happened to last 4 years, and this time, because of COVID, it's going to last a little bit longer. Okay, so here's the thing. I know that if tomorrow Bitcoin goes down to like 87, people will be like, oh, he was wrong. He said that Bitcoin was going to go up, and it didn't. Guys, I'm saying in the next few weeks, I'm not saying in the next 24 hours is something going to happen. I'm going to say in the next few weeks and months ahead, this is going to happen because of what's happening in the background. Again, do not let the price in the short term shake you into losing your conviction. I'm trying to build conviction into the bigger picture here. Shouldn't be too concerned about what happens from day to day here. Shouldn't be too concerned about what's happening on the price chart, etc. Okay? Because the price charts are ultimately just showing the pattern of liquidity over time. Now you can see that's what's been driving Bitcoin. But this is what we came for today. This is the most important part. It comes from Crypto Rover, okay, over on Twitter. You can see he has made a chart that shows altcoins dominance versus the PMI Purchasing Manager Index. So altcoin dominance, it means the percentage of altcoins in terms of market cap from the entire crypto market, how much of them they make up, okay? When the markets are good, in good conditions, we see lots of hype and excitement, this tends to move higher, away from Bitcoin dominance, and we'll see Bitcoin dominance fall. But as you can see, this is down here in the buy altcoins range rather than the sell altcoins. But we're not just going to buy because someone on Twitter wrote buy altcoins. We need to understand whether or not this can ever go higher. So what the F is the PMI, and will it ever go up? Because if it does go up, altcoins will rally along with it. See, follow the line, okay? Not always exactly synced up, but very closely, okay? There's sometimes lag, etc. So you can see this dumps down really low. The altcoins follow on a little bit later on. You can then see it rallies towards the upside. You can then see it peaks around there. So from here, we know that PMI goes up. Altcoins will likely rally as well. So like any good researcher, where do we go to find out this answer? Well, we can go across and watch YouTube or whatever, or we could just go to ChatGPT. And we could ask, PMI, what is the PMI when we're talking about economics? Well, it's a monthly economic indicator that measures the health of an industry, usually manufacturing and services. It comes from surveys of purchasing managers, the people who buy raw materials, manage supply chains, see orders, hiring, etc. They are early warning signals for the economy. So let's say you're in housing, right? You go and refurb houses or whatever it is. If you think that the economy is about to pump, what do? You hire more people, you go and buy more materials, you go and buy more properties, etc. That's PMI going up. Let's say you think the economy is going to start struggling. What do? You go and lay off a load of people. You stop investing in properties and you stop buying the raw materials. Okay, very simple. So what makes businesses go and invest a lot in all of the different materials and things that drives the PMI up? Well, it also goes down here and it says, think of PMI like a pulse. The PMI tells you whether businesses are accelerating or braking. If the Fed is easing, it is trying to press the accelerator if the PMI rises, it means the pedal alert. What does that tell you? Okay, it tells you that the PMI is the direct result of what happens at the Fed. So if the Fed cuts rates and if the Fed prints money, businesses will start to feel like things are going much better than they were before. So we need to see the PMI going up. What causes the PMI to go up? He cry, interest rate cuts when we see quantitative easing. Will we see interest rate cuts and quantitative easing coming in? Well, more than likely. We're going to see in the next couple of days unemployment figures in the US. If unemployment is higher than expected, then the markets will pump. So looking back through all this data, we can understand right now why people are buying Bitcoin, because we're going to see more liquidity entering the system. This is the signal from people who've been paying attention to macroeconomics. You can see as well, coming across here, that altcoins sit down in a very convenient area where they're nice and affordable, because we know right now that we're likely to see strong recoveries ahead. And going across to DeFi Llama, you're also seeing stablecoin market cap flows growing as well. You're seeing TVL across the markets starting to show the bottom likely being in. You're seeing very strong fees earnings across different cryptos. You're seeing good DEX volumes. You're seeing lots of positive aspects. The only thing not positive right now is how we feel about what's going on in the price action of Bitcoin and the altcoins, which is why we must try to distance our emotional feelings from the conviction. Okay, the conviction side. So here we go. Let's have a look at the altcoins. Because I know right now people are like, well, yeah, this is great, but I need at least a 4x or a 5x to be able to make my money back in Ethereum or in Sui or whatever it might be. Well, unfortunately, the reason that you need to have that 4 or 5x is because you tend to buy into hype and excitement rather than buying into fear and panic. But we've all done that. We just have to learn the hard way. But I want to make you feel a little bit better about that situation right now. And it's by showing you something that I've shown you time and time again. This is Solana in the last bull market. Now, right now, if you were to look at the interest rates and the economy moving from quantitative tightening towards quantitative easing, technically by the calendar, that would be very similar to what we saw in 2020 and to 2021. And just to show you, from August 2020 until early January, Solana fell 77%. So if you put in $100 into Solana, you would now be sat on $23. Ultimately, many people would then take the sell. They panic, get out the market because the market's down. They then take their $23 and they go buy a meal out. Okay, whatever they do, I don't know. However, other people will be like, well, yeah, I bought the top. Didn't work out for me. I just bought another $23 down here. And by doing that, they bought around $1. So Solana fell from $5, $6. It went down to $1. Just when we had quantitative tightening moving to quantitative easing. Now, after that, Solana went from $1 and it went all the way up to $260. That's a 260x. So let's just do some maths so that we can understand what this means. You put in $100 here, it goes down, 77%? You now have $23 at the bottom. And you take $23 and you times it by 260, you end up with a whopping 5,980 up here. However, if you were to do what the majority of people do and not have conviction and just sell into the panic and fear for $23, chances are you'll end up buying $23 back into the market when hype and excitement returns. When Solana's up here like 47, it then falls down like 50%, leaving you with like $11.50, and eventually you put your like $11.50 back into the market up here, and then the $11.50 turns into like a Mars bar, right? However, simply just by holding, waiting, being patient, building conviction, you can see what happens. And you're like, yeah, but it was just Solana had a great run. Well, actually, that's not true. If you go to Man and Decentraland, you can see that forever, Man and Decentraland looked like horrendous bear market, okay? This was back in 2018, okay? 2018, Man and Decentraland launches, and then it goes down 95%. Okay, it goes down 95% and it sits here for like 2 years. And I know many of you bought altcoins back in like March of 2024 when the market was pumping. Maybe you bought altcoins when the market was pumping back last December, or maybe even in kind of the summer this year where it seemed like things were back on again. Mana Decentraland went from being 95% down, all of a sudden it went up like this. It went up to around 124x. From 124x, it then comes down 84%. Can you imagine just how painful this would be? And then from that low, it goes up another 142x. This is what altcoins do. They are horrendously volatile. They are very, very painful, very, very difficult to hold because the market is very unforgiving, because the market for altcoins is linked to risk, risk on, risk off. As soon as the market conditions don't look right, everybody gets out of altcoins, market plunges. But all you simply need to do is build conviction and buy at the right times, right? You buy when there's fear and worry in the markets. There's always fear and worry in these times. You don't buy when everyone's hyped and excited. Now, obviously, these are extreme cases. Not every altcoin is going to do this. So which altcoins should I still be holding? Which altcoins should I be selling, getting out of? Well, I'm not going to give you specific names of individual altcoins that you should be selling, but I'm going to make it fairly clear and fairly obvious for you. But it isn't based on the chart, okay? Because of this. Look, this tells you that terrible, horrible, bad performing charts can come back and do something really, really impressive, okay? This is what I'm trying to get into your head here. What we then need to understand is why did this run so strongly at certain times? Gala, because it was gaming, it was the right narrative. Fundamentally, it was kind of like the first play-to-earn gaming kind of marketplace. Mana Decentraland pumped like crazy because Facebook changed its name to Meta. The metaverse projects did very, very well. Narrative holds a big part in this when the timing is right and there's greed in the markets. Solana, fundamentally very strong as a layer 1. It was like the new Ethereum. It was the faster, cheaper Ethereum. It did well. We saw NFTs coming in. Solana getting lots of usage. High utility, got a lot of excitement pushed into it. So in order to identify the utility coins, we don't check out the charts. We want to check out the data in the background. Go to defilama.com. Go to Solana. Let's have a look at Solana. We can see Solana TVL over time, total value locked, surging, okay? This shows you that there is a lot of value locked in Solana. You can also go to Sui, you can go to other ones along the way. Now, I would be focusing towards sort of TVL tick up. You can see that Sui TVL was absolutely rocketing. Has, however, crashed back down at this point. Now, around this time last year, Sui was absolutely ripping. It had gone up 5 or 6x from these kind of TVL lows. And as we know, every time the market returns to strength, Sui starts to go strongly with it. That's because people are utilizing this particular chain. Look, this is the TVL for Sui right now. With the market cap on Sui of like $6 billion, which is pretty small, you can see that the TVL sits at like $1.3 billion. You can see the stablecoin market cap flows and nearly 700 mil every single day. You can see the fees being paid for various different products built on Sui are performing well. Okay, if you go and meet the team originally came from Facebook, strong team. Now, price recently has been horrible, but it doesn't mean it's a horrible project. The price of Mana Decentraland was down here. Horrible. Someone would tell you down here that Mana Decentraland was a horrible product, but up here that it was the best thing in the world. It's the same thing, okay? The only difference in the market was the timing, okay? So what you need to do is identify the coins that have the potential to do this and not get kind of shaken out based on the performance of the chart down here. This is why strong layer 1 ecosystems are a fairly solid play. The smaller market cap you go, however, the more short-term volatility you have to endure. If you go to Ethereum, far less volatile because it's far bigger as an ecosystem. You can see strong here, okay? If you go to Solana, big ecosystem, and all you ever betting on really is that when the market goes good again, then Ethereum, Solana, Sui, whatever will do better. Smaller market cap tokens in the layer 1 world will tend to do better because it's much easier to move them. Look, for example, Aptos, $1.29 billion. In comparison, you've got Solana with a $76 billion market cap, 76x bigger than Aptos. Ethereum, 378 times bigger. Now again, solid stablecoin flows on Aptos. In fact, even better, partnered with World Liberty Fi. They've got a USD1 pairing, which is part of World Liberty Fi, Donald Trump's thing. You know, when crypto starts to get good again, everyone's going to be like, oh, actually, we really like Donald Trump once more. Now they don't really like him because the market's down. These things change like the wind, okay? Feelings, sentiment change like the wind. Identify the strong ecosystems. Fees being paid into the Aptos ecosystem, looking pretty good, okay? This TVL sliding lower, I'd like to see it starting to bottom off, but this is where I'd be looking. Now, I'm not just picking Sui and Aptos, but you can go and pick tons of other ones. Go to this all section, go down below and look at where the fees are being paid. These projects are making tons of money. Circle, $8 million. Fragment, 2.8. Pump.fun, $2 million every single day. Lido, Aave, Uniswap, Asta, Jupiter, these all have tokens. The majority of these have tokens. Go and look at Pump Fund right now, and you'll see it's making $2 million a day, but the chart is all the way down here. Well, on the day, it's up 6%, because as soon as crypto has looked good over the last few weeks, as soon as crypto has a good day, guess what? Pump Fund and any one of the projects that I'm telling you about here tend to rally strongly. They've got a lot of money in the bank, okay? They will not die, even if world wars announced tomorrow and crypto everywhere starts to feel the pain, okay? But these projects have still got millions and millions of dollars in the bank, okay? Made tons of money on launch. Pump Fund is making millions of dollars in revenue every single day, as are many of the other projects out there. These have strong fundamentals. And look, just back to those highs, Pump Fund is looking like a 194%. Uniswap, again, you can see just a couple of weeks ago, we had like a strong rally in the markets. Uniswap suddenly doing massive revenues, pumped like crazy. Right now, it's sat in and around these lows. It's sat in and around the zone that no one wants to pay attention. Now, it's up to you if you want to go and buy altcoins or whatever. I don't really care, okay? I'm just showing you what people typically do wrong in every market. Typically, they buy into hype, and then the market comes down, and then they blame the projects. Really, buying into hype is the worst thing that you can do. Buying into the fear is the best thing that you can do, okay? It doesn't feel nice to do it because it feels like things are going to get worse. And it's not then about buying the project that happens to have been performing strongly recently. It's about buying the projects that you've identified as having strong fundamentals. Many of the altcoins that I've talked about over the past few years are strong fundamental altcoins. I continue to hold these altcoins. The Aethers of this world, the Suis of this world, the My Lovely Planets, the WEEX, all of them. Okay, I appreciate that the charts are horrendous. Okay. And they will continue to look horrendous until we start to see exciting liquidity enter the market. But guess what? All the shakeout and all of the disaster that we've seen in the charts recently has all happened at the point we move from quantitative tightening into quantitative easing. Isn't that convenient? At the very time that we're likely to see this start to move back towards the sell altcoins point, you are seeing a mass shakeout in the market. Remember, this is a buy altcoin zone, not a sell altcoin zone. But obviously, go do your own research. Go and understand how macro links into crypto and build your own conviction. Now, I will do another video this week where I'll do probably a deeper dive into how to research different cryptos and things like that. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. By the way, as well, down below are links for Bitunix and WEEX, two exchanges that I personally use. If you want to go and pick up altcoins because you've decided that we are still in a bull market, then use these exchanges because they have some of the lowest fees across the market. They're easy to access no matter where you are in the world without having to provide too many details. Also, if you want to gain more alpha and literally join me as well as my team on various different Zoom calls throughout the week to be able to deep dive into different altcoins, the best opportunities, etc., then consider joining the Moonhouse, which is linked down below in the description. In that group, all the news and alpha is distilled each and every day, so all of the different things that I've been talking about in much more detail, as well as being able to join a community of other enthusiastic crypto investors. You'll find out about different altcoins and things at the right time, know when to get into them, know when to get out of them, etc. And also in those groups, we regularly do airdrops with Bitunix and WEEX, where people are able to win free airdrops of different tokens, which can pretty much pay for the membership itself if you are one of those lucky winners and a valuable contributor. Now, guys, if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, hit the like button, leave a comment down below, let me know which altcoins you've been buying into over these recent weeks of pain and worry across the markets. And I'll see you soon in another video. Bye-bye.